The massive alien fleet materialized above Earth's orbit on a perfectly normal Tuesday morning, which would have been far more dramatic if half the planet hadn't initially mistaken it for Elon Musk's latest publicity stunt. The ships themselves, geometric shapes that looked suspiciously like someone had raided a cosmic craft store for metallic origami supplies, hung in the sky with what they probably thought was menacing intent. "Attention, primitive beings of Earth," boomed the transmission across every frequency, including several podcast feeds and someone's Bluetooth speaker in Cincinnati. "We are the mighty Zartaxian Empire, conquerors of 1,000 worlds, destroyers of civilizations, and proud owners of the galaxy's largest collection of reality television broadcasts." At the hastily assembled UN Security Council meeting, Ambassador Chen nearly choked on his coffee when the alien commander appeared on screen. Admiral Zixatal, supreme leader of the Zartaxian fleet, stood resplendent in what appeared to be a knockoff Star Trek uniform, accessorized with shoulder pads that would make an 80s businesswoman jealous. "Your primitive weapons are useless against our superior technology," the Admiral declared, gesturing dramatically with what looked suspiciously like a TV remote control. "We have studied your planet extensively through your broadcast signals and understand all your weaknesses." The British representative leaned over to whisper to her French counterpart, "Did they just say they learned about us through our telly?" A ripple of poorly suppressed giggles spread across the chamber. "You dare laugh in the face of your doom?" Admiral Zixatal's antenna twitched in confusion. "We have conquered civilizations far more advanced than yours. We have technology you couldn't begin to comprehend." The Chinese representative raised his hand, trying desperately to maintain a straight face. "Respected Admiral, just to clarify, when exactly did you start receiving these broadcasts?" "We have been monitoring your transmissions for the past 50 of your Earth years," Zixatal proclaimed proudly. The UN Secretary-General had to bite her lip to keep from laughing out loud. "So, your most recent information about Earth is from 1974? Admiral Zixatal's confidence wavered slightly. "Our intelligence is comprehensive and absolute. We have witnessed your primitive nuclear tests, your crude space vessels, and your fascinating documentary series about humans living together in large houses with no apparent purpose." The Security Council chamber erupted in barely contained laughter. The Russian ambassador had tears streaming down his face as he tried to hide behind his laptop screen. Even the usually stoic Swiss representative was shaking with silent mirth. Zixatal's antenna drooped noticeably. "Why do you not tremble before our might? Where is the panic, the chaos, the desperate pleading for mercy?" The UN Secretary-General composed herself enough to respond, "Admiral, perhaps we should schedule a proper briefing about contemporary Earth. There have been a few developments since 1974. As the Admiral's face contorted in growing concern, somewhere in the background of their transmission, a junior Zartaxian officer could be seen frantically Googling Earth 2024 inches on what appeared to be a spacefaring Commodore 64. Back aboard the Zartaxian flagship Reality Winner, Admiral Zixatal paced the command bridge, his antenna twitching nervously as he reviewed their invasion plans. The bridge itself looked remarkably like a 1970s sci-fi movie set, complete with blinking lights that served no apparent purpose and computer screens displaying random numbers in green text. "Our research is impeccable," he declared to his assembled commanders, pulling up their primary intelligence database, a collection of Earth broadcasts ranging from The Brady Bunch to Big Brother Season 1. "Look at how primitive their dwellings are. They still use doors with handles, and their chosen warriors spend their time competing for symbolic roses." Commander Nixapor, head of technological warfare, raised a tentacle hesitantly. "Supreme Admiral, I've been analyzing some troubling data. It seems the humans may have progressed beyond the communication devices we observed in their historical documents." He gestured to their prized computer system, which wheezed and clicked like an asthmatic robot. "They no longer appear to use these pages we prepared to intercept." "Nonsense," Zixtal thundered. accidentally hitting the bridge's disco ball button, a feature they'd added after watching Saturday Night Fever. "Our technology is vastly superior. Observe." He proudly held up their most advanced weapon, which bore an uncanny resemblance to a bedazzled Nintendo Zapper. Lieutenant QX, the youngest officer present, scrolled through something on his personal device. "Sir, according to this Wikipedia I just discovered, humans now have something called quantum computing and artificial intelligence. Also, their smartphones appear to have more processing power than our entire fleet." A nervous murmur rippled through the command center. General Vix, the head of cultural analysis, consulted his notes, carefully compiled from watching all 12 seasons of Keeping Up with the Kardashians. But surely their society still revolves around these reality shows. Their greatest leaders are chosen through televised competitions, correct? "That's not exactly," Lieutenant Quick started, before being cut off by Admiral Zixatal. "Enough. We proceed as planned. Our first wave of attack will target their most strategic locations. These shopping malls, where humans gather to perform their sacred consuming rituals. Then we'll neutralize their centers of power, starting with this Jersey Shore." Commander Nixpor studied a recent transmission from Earth. "Sir, I'm not sure we should be basing our strategy on the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. Also, our long-range scanners are picking up something called TikTok, and frankly, it's terrifying." "Nonsense. Our research spans decades. Remember our detailed analysis of human combat capabilities from their historical documentary, WWE SmackDown?" The Admiral straightened his shoulder pads confidently. "Now, deploy the boomboxes. We'll begin our assault with the psychological warfare tactics we learned from American Idol." As the command crew scrambled to their stations, Lieutenant Quix quietly updated his Space LinkedIn profile, sensing this might be a good time to explore other career opportunities in the galaxy. The Zartaxian invasion force chose Times Square for their dramatic first landing, timing it perfectly to coincide with what their intelligence suggested would be a normal Earth day. Unfortunately, they failed to realize they had touched down in the middle of New York Comic-Con, their menacing arrival wedged between a Transformers cosplay meetup and the world's largest gathering of Doctor Who fans. "Kneel before your new overlords," Commander Nixipor's voice boomed through their ship's external speakers, which had been modeled after a 1980s boombox. The assembled crowd responded with enthusiastic applause and a forest of raised phones. "Dude, the marketing budget for the new Avatar movie is insane," shouted someone in the crowd. "Look at those practical effects." Lieutenant Quix emerged from their ship in full battle regalia, which unfortunately looked exactly like a bargain bin Power Rangers costume. A group of actual Power Rangers cosplayers immediately surrounded him for a photo op, praising his retro interpretation of the classic design. "This is not a performance," Admiral Zixatal declared, emerging dramatically from his command ship. "We are your conquerors. Observe our superior technology." He raised their feared neural disruptor, which bore an uncanny resemblance to a Nintendo Power Glove. "Oh my God, this is definitely viral marketing for that new Netflix series," a social media influencer squealed, already live streaming. "The production value is amazing. Look at those practical effects." The Zartaxian troops deployed their intimidation formation, a complex maneuver they'd learned from studying Earth's most feared warriors, the Backstreet Boys. As they began their synchronized threatening march, a flash mob of K-pop dancers joined in, perfectly matching their moves. "This crossover event is epic," someone shouted from the crowd. Meanwhile, on Twitter, #aliens in NYC was trending, but not quite the way the Zartaxians had hoped. These aliens showed up in Times Square looking like they raided a 1985 Radio Shack #aliens in NYC. Loving this retro sci-fi marketing campaign, the alien commander is giving Major David Bowie vibes #aliens in NYC #take me to your manager. Pretty sure I saw their spaceship in an old episode of Buck Rogers #vintage aliens #aliens in NYC. Admiral Zixatal's antenna drooped in confusion, as a group of Comic-Con attendees asked him to sign their vintage VHS tapes. Commander Nixpor was desperately trying to maintain authority while a cosplay contest judge kept praising his commitment to character. The situation deteriorated further when their fearsome battle cry, a recording of their most intimidating Earth sound, the THX Deep Note, was met with nostalgic cheers and someone starting a wave in the crowd. "Sir," Lieutenant Quicks whispered urgently to the Admiral, showing him his phone, "we're already a meme. Someone auto-tuned your speech and set it to something called Nyan Cat." The final blow to their dignity came when a teenager in a homemade alien costume walked up to Admiral Zixatal and said, "Nice costume, but your antennae are totally wrong. Everyone knows real aliens have 3 antennae, not 2. Did you even read the law?" As their invasion force stood bewildered in Times Square, surrounded by enthusiastic cosplayers, social media influencers, and a growing crowd of people trying to sell them Broadway tickets, Commander Nixapor leaned over to Admiral Zixatal and muttered, "Perhaps we should have watched some more recent Earth broadcasts, sir." On a nearby digital billboard, their threatening message of conquest was now playing on loop, but someone had already added a dance beat and cat gifs to it. Admiral Zixatal stood on his command bridge, ready to unleash the full technological might of the Zartaxian Empire. "Deploy our most fearsome weapons," he commanded, as his crew activated their arsenal, carefully reverse-engineered from Earth's most impressive technological achievements, as seen on reruns of Knight Rider. The first wave of attack consisted of what the Zartaxians believed to be cutting-edge electronic warfare, a barrage of signals designed to disable Earth's primitive communications. Unfortunately, their most advanced jamming technology operated on the same frequency as CB radio. At the Pentagon, General Thompson had to mute his microphone during the emergency briefing because he couldn't stop chuckling. "They're trying to hack our systems with what appears to be a Commodore 64 running BASIC." The Zartaxians' primary battle computer, proud successor to their earlier calculating machines, hummed and whirred as it processed battlefield data at nearly the same speed as a pocket calculator. Meanwhile, a teenager in Nebraska had already compromised their entire fleet's operating system using a jailbroken iPhone. "Sir," Lieutenant Quicks reported nervously, "the humans appear to be infiltrating our network using something called Python scripts. Also, someone named Xhackerdude 420 Kexex just changed all our system fonts to Comic Sans." The Zartaxians' next tactical move involved deploying their dreaded mind control ray, which they'd modelled after studying countless episodes of The Twilight Zone. The weapon, essentially a disco ball with delusions of grandeur, spun menacingly in the Earth's atmosphere before being mistaken for a rogue weather satellite and redirected by SpaceX ground control. "Launch our electromagnetic pulse," Admiral Zixatal commanded desperately. The pulse, designed to cripple Earth's electronic infrastructure, managed to temporarily disable several garage door openers in suburban Detroit and cause minor interference on a few AM radio stations. At NASA, mission control engineers were passing around popcorn while watching the alien fleet's attempts to breach their firewalls. "They're trying to brute force our passwords," one engineer announced, wiping tears of laughter from his eyes. "Current processing speed suggests they'll crack our security sometime in the next 300 years. The situation grew even more embarrassing when the Zartaxians deployed their ground forces, equipped with what they believed to be state-of-the-art weaponry. Their feared plasma rifles, reverse-engineered from episodes of Lost in Space, were immediately recognized as modified super soakers. "Sir," Commander Nixapor reported, his antenna drooping in shame, "the humans are defending themselves with something called TikTok. Our troops are becoming distracted." On the screens, Zartaxian soldiers could be seen attempting to learn viral dances instead of maintaining battle formations. The final humiliation came when Earth's military decided to respond, not with their advanced weapons systems, but with something far more devastating: technical support. "Have you tried turning your invasion fleet off and on again?" a NATO representative asked during negotiations, barely maintaining professional composure. A group of IT professionals from Bangalore, had taken control of the Zartaxian fleet's climate control system and were now sending helpful tickets about upgrading from Windows 95. Meanwhile, a retired grandmother in Florida had inadvertently gained Admiral-level access to their mainframe while trying to share a cookie recipe on Facebook. "Sir," Lieutenant Quicks announced, reviewing the latest battlefield reports, "the humans are offering to upgrade our systems. They say our current setup is so obsolete, it qualifies as a historical preservation project." Admiral Zixatal slumped in his command chair, watching as Earth's primitive defenses systematically dismantled their invasion force. A message flashed across their main view screen. "Your trial version of Zartaxian OS has expired. Would you like to purchase WinRAR?" In a final attempt to assert dominance, the Admiral ordered their most advanced AI to calculate a new battle strategy. The AI, named HAL 9000 after what they believed to be Earth's most sophisticated computer, responded by opening a game of Pong. The Zartaxian Cultural Assessment Team huddled around a holographic display, watching in horror as their carefully crafted invasion propaganda was transformed into something called wholesome alien memes. Their threatening message to humanity had somehow become a dance challenge on TikTok, complete with a catchy remix and millions of humans recreating Admiral Zixatal's antenna movements. Commander Nixipor stared at his datapad in bewilderment. "According to Earth's Know Your Meme database, we've already become something called a certified brew moment. I don't understand. Is this good?" The real crisis began when junior officers discovered social media. Lieutenant QX had already amassed 500,000 followers on Twitter with his behind-the-scenes of failed invasion posts. His latest tweet, "TFW, your superior technology is so vintage it qualifies as antique hash, invasion fail hash retrotech," had gone viral. In the ship's recreational area, now dubbed the Meme Lab by younger crew members, Zartaxian soldiers gathered around Earth devices, trying to comprehend human digital culture. So they communicate primarily through small moving images called GIFs and something called emotional damage memes. One confused analyst asked, while another tried to explain the concept of rickrolling to increasingly distressed superior officers. The turning point came during an accidental exposure to Earth's actual technological capabilities. During a routine scan of human networks, they discovered something called quantum computing and artificial intelligence. Admiral Zixatal nearly fainted when he realized their most advanced AI, which they'd proudly named Calculator Plus, had less computing power than an average human smartwatch. "Sir," a pale-faced technician reported, "humans have something called blockchain and cloud computing. Our entire fleet's data storage capacity is equivalent to what they call a free trial version." The cultural shock reached its peak when the Zartaxian marketing department, previously known as the Propaganda Division, discovered they had become an internet sensation, just not in the way they'd hoped. Their invasion ships had been turned into Instagram backdrops, their threatening messages were being used as ambient lo-fi beats, and someone had started an Etsy shop selling crochet patterns of their adorably retro spacecraft. Admiral Zixatal's personal crisis deepened when he discovered his dramatic speeches had been auto-tuned and turned into a chart-topping remix called "Space Karen Wants to Speak to Earth's Manager." The final blow to Zartaxian dignity came when their communications officer, attempting to understand human culture, accidentally created a LinkedIn profile and immediately received dozens of messages about extending his spaceship's warranty and opportunities in spacecraft multi-level marketing. "Perhaps," Commander Nixipor suggested weakly, watching their fearsome battle cry become a popular ringtone, "we should have updated our cultural database more recently than 1974. The emergency diplomatic summit was held in the UN headquarters, though the location hardly mattered since the entire world was watching via livestream. Admiral Zixatal and his command staff sat on one side of the table, their antenna drooping with embarrassment, while Earth's representatives tried very hard not to smirk on the other side. "Let me get this straight," the UN Secretary-General began, pulling up a PowerPoint presentation titled Earth, Then versus Now. You based your entire invasion strategy on broadcasts from the 1970s. We thought Happy Days was a current documentary about Earth culture, Commander Nixipor admitted, shrinking in his chair. We spent 3 years analyzing something called the Brady Bunch to understand human family structures. The Japanese ambassador coughed politely. That would explain why you tried to disable our defense systems by hitting them with a rolled-up newspaper. Several diplomats had to pretend they were checking their phones to hide their grins. Lieutenant Quicks, now verified on every social media platform, was live tweeting the meeting. OMG, just found out we prepared for invasion by watching reruns. #AlienFail #Throwback Thursday. The UN tech team had prepared a comprehensive presentation about modern Earth. As they clicked through slides showing smartphones, AI technology, and quantum computers, the Zartaxian officers grew increasingly pale, or whatever their species equivalent of pale was. Wait, Admiral Zixtal interrupted, pointing at a slide about internet connectivity. You mean to tell me that humans can instantly access the sum total of their species' knowledge from devices they carry in their pockets? We thought those rectangular things were just very shiny mirrors. The Chinese representative nodded. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. Would you like to hear about our advances in space exploration? Several Zartaxian officers reached for their stress relief squeeze toys. Though I have to ask, the German ambassador interjected, why exactly did your troops try to establish dominance by challenging our military to a dance-off? Commander Nixipor looked pained. We thought West Side Story was a documentary about Earth's combat tactics. As the meeting progressed, something unexpected began to happen. The initial embarrassment gave way to genuine cultural exchange. The Zartaxians were fascinated by Earth's technological progress, while the humans found the aliens' vintage tech oddly endearing. You know, the British representative suggested, trying not to laugh, your invasion might have failed, but you've become the biggest entertainment sensation since sliced bread. Your admiral's speeches have more YouTube subscribers than most influencers. The summit took an unexpected turn when a junior Zartaxian officer discovered BuzzFeed quizzes. Soon, half the alien delegation was busy finding out, which Earth fast food chain are you? While the other half argued about their zodiac signs. Perhaps, Admiral Zixatal said thoughtfully, watching his species' fearsome battle cry become a popular dance track. We could rebrand this whole invasion thing. Call it a cultural exchange program. The UN Secretary-General smiled diplomatically. We could start with upgrading your systems, though I must admit your vintage technology has sparked quite a revival. Retro alien aesthetic is trending on Pinterest. By the end of the summit, plans were already underway for a cultural exchange program, a joint space exploration initiative, and a reality TV show called Keeping Up with the Zartaxians. Lieutenant Quaix had already been offered a Netflix special. The official surrender ceremony took place 6 months after the failed invasion, though it looked suspiciously more like a technology trade conference mixed with a comic convention. Admiral Zixatal, now sporting a custom-designed Earth fashion line and his own YouTube channel, signed what was technically a conquest document, but read surprisingly like a cultural exchange program agreement. And with this signing, the Admiral announced to the gathered crowd and countless streaming viewers, we officially claim Earth as part of the Zartaxian Empire. He paused, reading the fine print. Through a mutually beneficial partnership, including but not limited to shared technological advancement, cultural programs, and exclusive streaming rights for all future Zartaxian reality shows. The Zartaxian fleet, once intended to be an invasion force, had been transformed into the galaxy's most popular vintage tech museum. Tours of their ships now included Instagram-worthy photo spots, and a gift shop selling replicas of their retro-chic technology. Back on the Zartaxian homeworld, Earth culture had spread faster than a viral tweet. Teenage Zartaxians were now obsessively binge-watching human shows, learning Earth languages for the memes, and trying to convince their parents to let them study abroad on this trendy new planet. Commander Nixipor, heading the Cultural Integration Committee, found himself overwhelmed by the changes. Our youth are using Earth slang now, he reported during a status meeting. Yesterday, my offspring called me kinda sus and said my battle strategies were giving boomer energy. The Zartaxian Education Ministry faced a crisis when students began submitting homework assignments in the form of TikTok videos. Their traditional Space Military Academy had to add new courses like Understanding Earth Memes 101 Inches and Advanced Social Media Strategy. Lieutenant Quicks, now a celebrated social media influencer with his own merchandise line, summarized the situation in a viral post. TFW, you try to conquer a planet, but end up getting culturally colonized instead, #Uno reverse card. The final irony became clear during the first anniversary of the conquest. As Admiral Zixatal prepared to give a speech about the successful integration of Earth into the Zartaxian Empire, he realized he was reading it from an Earth-made tablet, wearing Earth-inspired fashion, and broadcasting it through Earth-based social media platforms. Looking out at the audience of humans and Zartaxians alike, all glued to their smartphones and trading memes about his antenna movements, the Admiral had a sudden realization. "Commander," he whispered to Nixipor, "I'm beginning to think we might not be the ones doing the conquering here." His comment immediately went viral, became a meme template, and was remixed into what would become the summer's hottest dance track. Somewhere in the crowd, a human teenager was already turning the moment into a reaction GIF. The Zartaxian Empire had technically conquered Earth, but Earth's culture, technology, and memes had absolutely demolished the Zartaxians' resistance. In the end, it wasn't clear who had assimilated whom, but at least everyone was having fun posting about it on social media.